All right. Hello, everybody. How are you doing today? Hopefully, everybody is having a great morning or a great evening, depending on where you're watching from. It's such an honor to be able to be here with you for this weekly reading. In case anybody's asking, where's Apollo? He's sleeping right now. I will bring him up later when he wakes up. But we have a lot to talk about today, so I thought I would get started first. My name, of course, is Nicholas Ashbaugh. You're here for the weekly collective. And as it says right there, everybody is welcome. And let's talk a little bit about the format, and then we'll get into the messages. Like I said, a lot to talk about, a lot of dream messages that came through as well. So the format for this, first and foremost, I'd like to mention that it's for everyone present. There's only one part of it that's going to be sign specific, and that'll be the elemental forecast. Everything else, if you showed up, then you're actually exactly where you need to be, and you'll be receiving messages for you. I begin with channeled messages. They came today primarily through dreams, and I'll talk about the energy that came through. And then we'll also look at the 7-day forecast. That's going to take us from Sunday to Sunday and give us a sort of clear vision of what we need to be focusing on. After that, we'll look at blessings and blocks, something to look to embrace, something hopefully to transmute or avoid. And then we'll get into earth, air, water, fire, etc. We'll look at all the different elements and get some specific information for the signs. That's the only portion where we're going to be focusing on that. After that, we'll look at a viewer's choice. And then we get into the special topic today, which is the Phoenix Rising. Thank you so much, everybody, for voting for that. I think it's a great sort of energy as we come out of retrograde now. And it's a chance for us to really look at how to get this year in the direction we want it to be. Kind of was inconvenient to have retrograde happen in January, but now that we're in February, now that we're kind of in the shadow of it, we can get our bearings again. We can clear sort of the chaos and the dust around us, and that's what we'll be looking at there. And at the very end, I always like to wrap up with a meditation, and I look at the end at a special card for you, something that you've been focusing on. Speaking of cards, by the way, I put a poll up on my community, or really just an open question on the community tab for new decks that I could be using. I already purchased a couple based on suggestions. So if you have any, go ahead to the community tab after the reading. It'll be there, no rush. So there you go. All right, we're going to talk first about the channel messages. Before we get into that, actually, just a couple of quick notes. Our moderator today is Maria Margarita. So if you have any questions, she can point you in the right direction or just let you know where we're at. If you would ever like more information about what I'm doing or what's coming up, I'd encourage you to follow me on social media. Just about everywhere, it's going to be Nicholas Ashbaugh. Twitter is nashbaugh. And a quick reminder across all social media, if you ever get a friend invite, a message, or if someone's saying that they're going to offer you a free reading or something like that, it's bogus. You want to show up here. This is a place to interact. I don't offer private readings, and there's a lot of folks out there that just like to pretend to be someone that they're not. So always like to disclaim that so that you're not confused. Also, let's see. If you enjoy what you see here, the single best way to ensure that the channel is healthy and happy and that I can reach more people is to hit the like button and then subscribe if you're brand new or a longtime viewer and you're just like, I've never subscribed. Please do. It really does help. It costs $0. The same as following. And then let's see here. For those of you that would like to give back a little bit, there's always an option. It's completely optional, but it does help me as I continue to invest in equipment and buy new decks. So you can do that right here by clicking on the that $ icon, and then you can do Super Chat, Super Sticker, or a membership. And membership gives you a chance to vote a couple of times and break any ties or ask questions when I do Q&As. Okay. So with all of that being said, let's get into the channeled messages. Let me just pick a deck real quick here and see what's calling to me today. I'm going to use the Tarot of St. Croix. I used it a little bit last week and I liked it, so we're going to revisit that for the first portion here, which actually after, I almost forgot, we're going to go through the channel messages first. So I've got the deck on the side here. Let me get the picture-in-picture set up for the channel messages, and I'll talk about some of the dream messages that I received last night. I don't know about you, but even though we're in the shadow of retrograde, I'm still getting a lot of messages around the dream, my dreams, and sort of just even like meditation. So I would say, for those of you that are working on intuitive development, this is a really good time to focus on developing that a little bit more and paying attention to what is coming through. Today, I actually got fairy energy coming through, and we'll talk about that. It's not sort of like the Tinkerbell kind. It's more like what you would see in traditional Irish fairy tales or maybe even Shakespeare, where they tend to cause a little bit of trouble. So we'll definitely take a look at that. The Phoenix, of course, I'm going to touch upon briefly, and just the importance of clearing. We've got so much to look at today, and a lot of what I was getting from my guides is that it's going to come through in the cards, which is why I was so keen on getting those. So I'll highlight it, and then we'll get started so that we don't miss a thing. All right, so fairy energy. In literature, in sort of traditional texts, you will see them as being mischievous and unpredictable. So in your own life, there could be a period that's coming through where it could just feel a little tumultuous. There's a lot going on, and you may be wondering to yourself, how am I going to get through this? So the unpredictability about things hopefully will not freak you out or put you in a place where you're wondering what's going on. It can also, of course, indicate Seven of Swords if we're looking for a more traditional connection to what that fairy energy is. Now, I was shown that it was small, literally like a little tiny energy that came through, and it did not look human, and looked kind of like a fairy to me, what I would expect it to be. But in everyday life, this energy can come through in different ways, because sometimes people aren't even aware that there may be an energetic kind of like connection or clog around them, or sometimes even a spirit like that. So what can happen when you sort of see that symbol is someone not being completely honest, someone that might be trying to get away with something. It can also indicate a part of our own life that we need to focus on when it comes to accountability. So if you have that kind of trickster energy entering into your life right now, the encouragement here is to call it out. And basically, if it's a person in your life, let them know that that doesn't work. And if it's your own sort of accountability, get real with yourself and your goals so that you can move on to the next thing, because that's a little bit of a block. That nudge piece, I think, is the most important when it comes to the Seven of Swords. It gets overlooked sometimes, is that we also play a role in either enabling or feeding that energy, okay? The feeding piece is next, and we want to talk about that a bit. So Seven of Swords, by the way, just honesty, transparency, and communication can easily clear it out. And sometimes just walking away. You could be cutting your losses sometimes with this and just realize it's not worth the energy. How can you overcome this? I was shown very clearly with the guides that I saw like a group of people holding hands and looking in all directions. And also one person in the center. So that there was basically all sides, all directions, all dimensions. And this is just basically a spiritual symbol of teamwork. I pulled the Two of Cups here because they are communicating, they are cooperating, and I like that. But this could just as easily be 10 of Cups, 3 of Cups, 10 of Pentacles, 6 of Cups, anything where we see people working together. And so in your life, it can be a small or a large effort, but as long as you have each other's backs, and that's how it was shown, like you were protecting one another. I was looking this way, you were looking this way. So protect one another and look at the things that you can't see, and then talk to one another about that. That energy will kill chaos or diffuse the energy of chaos. The little tiny sprite or fairy or mischievous energy that came through liked chaos. It was kind of, if you remember there was a character, I think, is it Pigpen? I think in Charlie Brown, where he always has dust around him. That's what these sort of spirits like. They like fog and dust and smoke and mirrors. So when you clean up the dust, when you really just shine a light on what's real, they go away, because they actually on some levels may not like what they see too. Holding up a mirror is actually a very effective way also, not like a real mirror, but sort of showing someone that you see them or that you see through them. It's very disconcerting to that kind of energy. It doesn't want to be seen. It likes to try to just get in your energy. So work with others and also show like, I see you when that happens. And then basically chaos will find another place to live. And that's the key thing here. And the holding of hands is also key. So if there's people in your life where you don't feel like they truly have your back, or that you don't want to connect with them, this is a chance to disconnect. There's also a Fleetwood Mac song like Chain, Keep Us Together, like The Chain. And that's kind of what this is. This is The Chain. I think the whole band actually wrote that song. And it was ironically on an album where they were all falling apart. And so kind of interesting lyrically and cooperatively, it's one of their more popular songs. But it's sort of like that collective call to action and protection. So really get together and unite. And I think that unity is the one thing that the shadow energy hates the most. And it was probably very angry that I was going to come forth today and tell you how to overcome it, but that's how it is. And then I smudged my place to smithereens this morning and said, goodbye. Thanks for the message. Move on, please. Smudging is really key, by the way, and we'll talk about cleansing. Never be afraid when you see that. Just for me, what I'm going to do later today is do even deeper cleaning. I'll get into the closets, I'll get into the other spaces and just clean because it hates that. So the cleaner your space, the cleaner your life, the cleaner your conscience, the less likely these sort of things come toward you, okay? Now's the time for a fresh start. So Tower energy is going to be part of the Phoenix, which we're going to look at today. Phoenix rises from the ashes, from the dust. The dust is a big piece of this today because it keeps coming through in all the dream metaphors. So what I'd like you to do, it's homework. You can choose to do it or not, but take a look at the relationships in your life that are in disarray. Look at the parts of your physical life that might be a little less tidy. And then also kind of go into the cognitive part and work on cleaning up the thoughts as well, because it's going to be all of those put together. The more that you decide to kind of clear and clean things and also release the things that aren't adding to the clarity, the easier and the better your life is going to be, and the more you're going to be able to focus on creation, okay? So once you pick up the pieces, you'll find maybe something that you lost. That's the cool thing when you start cleaning. I'm sure many of you have done this before. You're like, oh, that's where that went. Or I forgot to do this. Or you might actually see a new order in something that you thought there was no life in. So you can breathe new life into something. Sometimes I just did a clip the other day of one of my other readings, but sometimes things have to fall apart before you can put them back together. Sometimes you need the context. So it bears repetition. All right, so this is your chance to rise, and this is the Phoenix as well. Judgment also requires understanding and acceptance. I didn't put it on here, but it's probably the single most important thing, and things come through when I channel and read this. So I would say, do you understand and do you accept what is being presented to you in the way of an opportunity, an epiphany, or again, when you're looking at the mess that you need to clean up? These are the important things for you to really look at before you can embark on something new. Otherwise, you're dragging the old garbage into the new, and we don't want that. There was a kind of geeky moment that I had about a month ago where we looked at Bennu, which is an Egyptian deity. It's part of the energy of Ra, the sun god, and there was a story about it sitting on the rock and looking at the waters of creation, and it had this sort of song that it sang, or this call that it made with its voice, and that was pivotal in the creation of the world. Very close, like I said, I geeked out as well with like J.R.R. Tolkien. He had a creation myth with the Silmarillion, and there's this Iluvatar character, which is like God, but it basically created this symphony of music, and all the angels basically played a role and created a measure or added their own music to it. So voice or music or harmony are key. They're kind of key elements in creation. So you're going to be bringing about harmony by using your voice. And just like a song, there's going to be parts that are faster and slower. There's going to be parts where there's a pause. You're going to keep creating that new vision, that new music in your life. Harmony is key. If there's discord, if there's discordant energy where things are kind of like not working, that's where you're going to pay attention and either fix it or release it. The energy of the Phoenix is also connected to death, tower, and judgment. I think you need all of them, actually. So the tower would be the destructive force, the death would be the transformative force, and judgment would be the decision to live again or begin again. You need all three to really be the Phoenix. So we'll keep an eye out if any three of these cards come through in any of the spreads today, because they're going to be kind of like a highlighter around them. There'll be something important because you chose the topic today, and that's what I want to look at. So you're provided with a chance right now to recreate and reimagine. And I guess the question is, always is, are you ready for that? So the final piece here that's going to be important, and we'll definitely keep an eye out for all of this, is know how and when to release things that no longer serve you. And I don't mean in a sort of like, in a way of like they're working for you. It's more sort of like, is this helping you grow? Is it providing happiness? That kind of energy of serving your higher good, I should say. So you can actually, in this case, avoid the tower energy. You can skip past it and just release and begin. So you could just have death and judgment. The tower isn't always a necessary piece, but most of us as humans tend to go through it because What it does, if you're curious, is it provides us with that final straw. When the Tower happens, without a shadow of a doubt, you're usually ready to get on to the next thing. The Ten of Swords has a similar energy. Sometimes we have to go through the top bursting off of a pot or something to just be like, I never want to do that again. So some of you want to go through the Tower, but you don't have to if you're willing and ready to sort of see like what's beyond. Okay, so that, my friends, is your sort of channel messages, or the culmination of all the channel messages today, which again, I thought were beautiful. A lot of really cool things coming through, and very much in alignment with the topic today, which is the Phoenix rising. And I like that it's rising, and it's not about, going through the negative. It's about coming out of it, about looking forward to what's possible. All right. So if you just joined, you picked a perfect time. We just got through the channel messages, and we're going to go into the 7-day forecast. I already picked out the deck for this. So let me just put the keyboard to the side. We'll turn the camera down, and we're going to take a look at Sunday to Sunday. Again, all signs. For this portion, we'll be looking at the elements in a couple of sections here. As you can tell, right after we get to the blessings and blocks, we'll do the elemental. Okay, so let me go ahead now and just shift the focus down so we can see what's coming through for the next week. Welcome, everybody. And yes, thank you. I know we need to we'll light the candles in a moment here. I was in such a hurry this morning to get to you that we didn't do that. Actually, it's a good reminder. I'll go ahead and do it real quick. So we can together light the candles and set intentions. So thanks for the reminder there. Occasionally I do this. We're going to start with the first intention and really set that we're going to call in the highest light. So today it wasn't accidental that we did it this way, but give me a second to get my lighter and we'll get started. All right, so for the first candle, let's call in your connection to spirit. So everybody, this might be different. We can just say the highest power in the universe if you would like to. Please come through today. Allow all messages that we receive to be of that highest power and of that highest light. Thank you. And then I always like to light 4 candles right behind me. And I usually work with a protective spirit like Archangel Michael, and then I usually use Uriel, Gabriel, and Raphael also. I call upon them, I should say. So let's do that. We'll always put a gratitude before we call upon them, and then an intention. So you may not be able to hear me very well because I'm in the background, but I will try to project. So for the first one, we want to call in protection, and we're going to work with Archangel Michael. Please protect this space and allow only the highest energies to come through. For the next one, we're going to work with Archangel Uriel to bring in order, to keep our thoughts clear, to help us clear the chaos. Thank you, Michael, for protecting us. Thank you, Uriel, for hearing this particular intention and prayer. I'd next like to call on Archangel Raphael to allow for healing. Please hear our collective prayer for healing. Thank you for your presence now and always. Even if we don't see you, we appreciate it. And as a reader, the single most important archangel you can probably work with if you're going to work with them is Gabriel. So Archangel Gabriel, please work with me today. Allow me to be a clear channel and bring the messages through in the way that they need to be. Say the right things to the right people at the right time. Amen. All right. So with that being said, let's get into the 7-day forecast. And again, it's a good reminder whenever you're working with spiritual energy, it's always good to focus on setting that intention. So there you go. Everybody got to be a part of that today. So it actually is fortuitous. All right, let's go ahead now. Take a look at Sunday to Sunday. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Okay, and we'll take a look at next weekend. We'll talk about all of this. All right. So I really love the energy of today. This kind of represents what we're doing with the 6 of Cups. Let me pull it up right so you can see it. And again, we're going to be looking here at the 7-day forecast. So the first card in the 7-day forecast was the 6 of Cups. The 6 of Cups, of course, being reversed. Let's go ahead now and just look at this in the upright position. What I love about this is the diversity at the table. Everybody kind of has a different energy, and it's an inclusive sort of vibe that you get with this. A lot of times you just sort of see the childlike energy, and you can still sort of see this. This does look like a bunch of kids kind of playing make-believe or whatnot, but I would say for many of us, this is reminding us to have some fun and to really look at who's around us and make sure that we're acknowledging them, giving them a seat at the table. So for everyone today, if you're watching this live, even if you're watching this a day late, I would say the important thing with the message here from Sunday is to focus on, are you taking a look at the people around you? Remember in the picture that I showed you in the channel messages, we saw the two people on the Two of Cups, but I mentioned Six of Cups, 10 of Cups. All of those would still be a part of this. So make sure everyone has a seat at the table, and then decide when you're looking at this what you want to do about that. Having some fun, reconnecting. For many of you that might be in an existing relationship, this can also be about making sure that the other partner feels appreciated. So have some fun, pay attention to equality, make sure that if there's anyone in your life that maybe you've missed a bit, this can be an old friend or relative, this is a great time for reconnecting. You also may just feel like you are the odd person out. And if that's the case, it could be internal, but if it isn't, then reclaim that seat at the table. And if someone doesn't let you sit there, I often use the analogy of, those, mean kids at school lunch. You don't need to sit there. You can find a better place. There's plenty of people out there that would be happy to have you as a part of the team. So if you don't like the team you're with, it's time to kind of shop around and find a better one, but there may be a way to just sort of reconnect, at least try. And if you've tried and failed, then remember the energy of Death, the Tower, and Judgment today, this week, this month is giving you a chance to release those shackles. So it's okay. If you can't make it work, you can't make it work. You can't force things. People have to want something. There's that song by Bonnie Raitt, right? I can't make you love me if you don't. Same thing for fixing things in your life. There always has to be a desire for the other party to want to do something, okay? So let's look at the energy of Monday, tomorrow. So we have the Four of Wands here, and I know people in Australia, you may already be here. So for the energy of Monday, we have Four of Wands, very great card for foundations and for building. So what I like about this particular illustration is we see someone at a crossroads. They have some decisions to make. It's not just about sitting statically and waiting for someone else to come. We see this person riding through the night and saying, I know what I want, and I know where it's going to be, and I'm going to go there first. I'm not going to just sort of sit here and wait for it to come to me. A lot of times, Four of Wands and Three of Wands can be passive. The Three of Wands, of course, the person's up on the cliff looking at the ships coming in, and the Four of Wands, they're sitting there waiting for someone to come into that safe space of the Four of Wands for, it could be the perfect relationship, it could be the perfect opportunity. So you don't have to wait. Take the first step. Open the door so that people can come in if you want that. This is also just a quick sort of confirmation that the foundations that you've built are indeed very secure. So a house looks empty. Well, you won't even see the house first when something's being built. If you've ever watched a house or a shopping center or corporate building being constructed, they're going to dig the hole first, and then they're going to pour the cement or put in the wood or the steel beams, however the construction might be arranged. You're going to see the skeleton first. So a very modern take on the Four of Wands could be just showing that skeleton being built. And, the plaster and the drywall isn't yet there. So this is just a confirmation that you may not see all of the fruits of your labor on Monday, but based on what I'm looking at here, it looks pretty darn good. We're going to fast forward just for a second and look at the week here. I mean, we have Eight of Cups, we have Six of Pentacles, with a little bit of unknown here on Thursday, but Friday we get to the Star. So we see the payoff in the form of the Star coming through, and that is definitely a confirmation that you're in the right place at the right time. So just focus on trusting yourself and believing that you've set in motion all of the right things at this moment in time. If you do have people and opportunities already in your life and they're clear, this is a time to really work with them and celebrate that. So if you need to sign a contract, if you need to have a sort of conversation, even if it's a difficult one with someone, the energy of the Four of Wands is very favorable for that. You may have to call it into being, though. You may have to say, let's meet at 3 o'clock on Monday or whatever, 4 o'clock since it's the Four of Wands. But just say, you're going to be the one that kind of brings that together, and they're going to be happy that you did that. All right. So be the chief, be the captain, be the emperor, and see what happens. Okay. Let's go ahead and focus now on the energy of Tuesday, which I like quite a bit. We have the Eight of Cups. Look at that lovely energetic shift that we're seeing. This is so nice to finally see after all of the energy of retrograde. This is a breakthrough moment. Eight of Cups is really good when it comes to business. Of course, I like Eight of Wands maybe a little bit better because you can start to see things coming through both, I would say, with resources and people. But the Eight of Cups is good. This is showing me return business, return interest. In life, it's showing me that if you're trying to do something new, the energy is sticking a little bit more. So keep up what you're doing. I like the energetic sort of outcome here. So let's look at it closer here. We see the interesting thing with this Eight of Cups is it's all kind of going in one direction. So I feel like if you felt much of January or December was you going against the stream, it feels like finally things are starting to flow in the right direction for you. The only thing that's kind of interesting about the Eight of Cups is sometimes it can be a little bit unpredictable. It can be a little bit sporadic. So it can be like hot and cold. So in a relationship, you might, especially if you just started dating someone, there could be this sort of energy of you can't get enough of each other for 2 or 3 days. And then all of a sudden it's like crickets. But then again, it gets really hot and heavy, and then nothing. Same thing with work. If you have a business and there are clients and you notice that maybe 2 or 3 days in a row, you can't stop answering the phone and email, and then you're basically posting things on social media the next day wondering, is it all gone? It's not. Things are just weird and uneven. So your focus on Tuesday is not freaking out. So if the unevenness is bringing you abundance, then you're going to say, thank you for that abundance. I'm happy for this. If it's bringing you the crickets, then you're going to clean, plan, and meditate and kind of just get your head in the right space, okay? So a little bit of extremes, a little bit of sporadic energy, but it's not a big deal, and it's going to even out over time. This is also an open door and a second chance. So if someone said no to you before, ask again, especially if you're a business person. This is a good day to kind of do a follow-up call. If it's someone that you had a falling out with and you want to repair the bridges, Tuesday's a better day to do that. It's a much better day than like Thursday with the Two of Swords. So I like this. It's a very usable energy that you can kind of tap into. Let's go now to Wednesday. We have the Six of Pentacles. It's all about finding balance. The Six of Pentacles is a little bit unique. Normally we would see someone holding a scale and kind of picking the coin to change is what I was going to say out of that and deciding how much they want to invest. Here we basically see a reimagined sort of lover's card with the two people kind of like in the throes of romance and passion. What can happen with that sometimes is you get so passionate that you lose the objectivity, right? So if something important is happening and you're so focused on the other person, or you're so focused on the sort of energy of what's going on around you, you lose your bird's eye view. So what I would say with midweek that's going to be important for you is know when to say no, know when to get out of someone's business. Also, if you are married or if you are working a lot and that feels like it's your main partnership, make sure that you're not giving so much of yourself that you get lost. The main thing here is to sort of keep your grounding. I love that we see the passion in this card, but the important thing is, even passion has its sort of limits, and you just don't want to let the passion carry you away in a way that kind of is unsustainable. All right. So if you say no, if you have your limits, if you kind of focus, you can actually find some of those hidden resources that I talked about with the energy of the Tower here. So this is sometimes even an epiphany. Oh my goodness, look at this. If I just move my attention over here, I can do a lot more. So I see Wednesday as a pivotal, productive day, and a day where you might be challenged to just say no, even if you want to say yes, because it might be someone might be asking you who you really, really like. And it's hard to sort of say no. You can always say not yet. You can always say this, but not that. You can kind of just decide how much you want to give. All right. Thursday is the one day this week where it looks like it could be just a smidgen challenging for some of you. So we have Two of Swords. Two of Swords doesn't mean you're trapped. It doesn't mean that there's no way out. There's usually an illusion with the Two of Swords that you need more information, or it's so much on the line that you might feel like, I need someone else to tell me what to do. I talked a little bit recently about the sort of appearance in TV and literature of a blind seer, because sometimes you have to not look in order to hear what your heart is saying, in order to go into the recesses of your mind to remember something from the past. So the blind energy in the Two of Swords is saying it's either abundantly obvious and you're overthinking it, or you need to go in a little bit deeper and go with the first thing that feels right. So if you take the blindfolds off and look at what the general lay of the land looks like, there's going to be one path that looks better. Go for it. Because it's probably a very narrow difference between the two. With the Two of Swords, the only thing that will hold you back is inaction. So you're being called to action on Thursday, and you're being asked to either look at the obvious and not overthink, or go a little deeper and trust what your heart is telling you. You could ask 5 different people and get 5 different answers. So this one's on you, but you're going to choose wisely. I say that because when we look at the end of the week, we have the Star card. The Star is going to help you solve the Two of Swords, and let me tell you how. With the Star card, let's look at this upright so you can see it a little bit better. It's reversed, but it's still very auspicious. So in this particular Star card, we see a lovely Egyptian sort of energy. It almost looks like Isis there. But basically, there is this reincarnation energy. This is very much like judgment, believe it or not. And this is you deciding to be your true self. When the Star is reversed, it's basically a muting of your light or a muting of your energy. The reason this is dangerous is because it sets a precedence with others that it's okay for you to give less or to do less, and it's not okay. You've earned this opportunity. You've been working really hard to set up your chance to shine. And you shining doesn't mean someone else is shining, and vice versa. So the important thing here is authenticity. So if we connect authenticity to the Two of Swords, it will answer your question or the conundrum that's happening on Thursday. So if it doesn't feel authentic, if it doesn't feel real, if it doesn't feel right, don't do it. Easily said. The execution of that may be challenging if people pressure you, but you can just remind them that this isn't right, or that there's a better way. You might have to be the star. You might have to shine the way for them. I also like that we see someone creating their own story here in the stars, their own constellation. And so you have to follow your own North Star, which was one of my other topical choices. But the North Star, of course, Polaris. I just went to a planetarium show that kind of went through the whole cosmos here, and it reminded me of that as well. But Polaris always is going to be standing still in the sky because of the way that the Earth moves in its location. But most of the other stars appear to sort of rise and set. But when you look at Polaris, it's north. It's true north. So your true north, your soul's Polaris, is going to be a little bit different from other people's. We're all going to have a different true north spiritually, but that's what you have to focus on, and that's what the star is talking about. When you follow your soul star, then you're absolutely going to shine and be effective and be happy and be successful. You may be put in the hot seat. You may be asked to step up and speak up and do something. You can absolutely succeed on Friday. It's just a question of faith and trust in yourself, because usually we're the ones that kind of step in our own way. So just trust yourself, okay? It's a good day of the week for you, a great day of the week, actually. So let's take a look at the last 2 cards here. We're going to start with what comes through next Saturday. We have the King of Swords. We got to look at this one really close because there's a cool illustration here. So he's reversed, but take a look at what's going on. We see someone actually... You can look at it 2 ways. The fact that this is reversed, it's someone trying to steal your thunder, your words, or your moment. And that's why I wanted you to really take the energy on Friday and take advantage of it. The other person is going to lose, even though they're going to win, because they're grabbing the sword not by the handle or the hilt portion of it, but like by the sword. So this is one thing that I like to remind people of karmically. There's always a trade-off. So if someone takes something that's not rightfully theirs, or steals your voice, like they were trying to do there just with me for a second, then there's always a trade-off. They're going to have a karmic sort of adjustment that happens. So you focus on you and don't be afraid to speak up. With the King of Swords in reverse, it's a simple no sometimes. Don't do that. That's not right. It can also be you saying, I want this. We have a hard time for whatever reason in today's society, sometimes just saying what we need. We hope that people will expect it. A lot of times we don't even use the phone anymore. We're texting. I recently had a situation with an acquaintance where, even when you ask them not to text, they'll text. And when they text, it tends to get worse. And when people have cotton in their ears and don't listen, they still do it anyway. So it would be better to have a face-to-face or voice-to-voice, like on the telephone conversation, to just clarify things. Get it out, keep it quick and simple whenever we see King or Queen of Swords reversed. You don't want to kind of veer into the Ten of Swords territory. I think King of Swords is fantastic, and reversed it's fantastic. You just have to say yes, no, or this is what I need, or don't do that. Put the limits down, lay the law, get in and out. And I think that's the important thing on Saturday. Keep it simple as possible. And that is also going to bode very well for you, all right? But otherwise, if everything's going amazingly well in your life, this card often comes through when it's time for you to get to work. It's a highly, swords can be a highly active suit, but when the King of Swords is reversed, he's asked to kind of move. And here we see him on a ship, right? So I would say for you, getting out there, moving, building, doing, all of that energy is going to bode very, very well on Saturday. It's a great day to write, to plan, and to act, all right? So all of the sort of managerial energy that you can think of, it's very much supported by that. All right, let's now take a fast forward to 1 week from today, looking at next Sunday, which of course still very malleable because a lot can happen between now and then, but let's look at it. We got the Magician, which I love. Let's pull the card up so you can see it. Got a couple of reversals here, but it's not a big deal because this is very auspicious. So this is kind of what we're doing, and I love that next Sunday we will be doing the same thing. You see us in the middle of this. What I like about this, particularly when it connects to tarot, is what we're doing today puts you in the position of the Magician. I am here to show you energetic patterns, not to say this is going to happen, you can't do this, you won't do this. I'm going to say, look at this. This could be tricky. Look at this. This could be an opportunity. You get to decide. That's why we never are going to really be afraid of this Two of Swords. It's almost impossible for it to happen because of the fact that you've showed up today. So you are the center of your own sort of energy. You have the ability to create and destroy. This is going to be part of the Phoenix as well, the Magician. And I think the important thing for you is to focus and trust. With those two things, the Magician is unstoppable. If he or she trusts themselves, then that's when magic happens. If you think back to Harry Potter when he was trying to cast that spell, and he couldn't figure it out, but you have to kind of like believe in yourself. He actually saw another version of himself on the other side of the river, whatever, and he thought it was someone else, but it was actually him, I believe. It's been a while since I saw that particular movie, but what I liked about it sometimes is we can surprise ourselves with our own magic, right? So for you, was it his Patronus or something like that? I can't remember. But you have to trust in your ability to work your magic. And your magic is going to be creating things, manifesting things, orchestrating things around you, right? All of that. So it's going to be a great week. The only thing that I see that's going to get in the way again is potentially, one last look at the desk here, Thursday's a little tricky, and perhaps next Saturday. Everything else looks great. And today, just remember to have some fun, okay? So that was the 7-day forecast. We're going to take a look at blessings and blocks next. So let me just slide these up to the top here. And let's go ahead and see which deck I'm called to use for this. Let's see, I might use Dreamscapes, but let's see. We'll just use this one. Okay, so blessings and blocks, I'm going to use the Light Seers deck for this one. And let's see what you can look forward to, what you might want to kind of veer away from. There's our tower. All right, that's the blessing. Here's your block. All right, so let's look at the cards up close here. And again, just a reminder here that we're looking at blessings and blocks. So for the blessing, it is the fact that if you've chosen to go through this moment of change, then this is a good change. I like that we see the little squirrel with his acorns or whatever kind of nuts he's been hiding there, because what happens sometimes is you forget what you've stowed away for a rainy day, or you may not realize the sort of store of energy that you have to get you through this moment in time. And so as the sort of tree around the little squirrel here has been destroyed, he actually sees, oh my goodness, look, I have all these resources. I better figure out what I want to do with them next, okay? So when something feels like it's destroyed or falling apart, something else presents itself. And we have all those little butterflies on this card too. And it's a reminder that change can be the healer. That's why it's the blessing. And I mentioned earlier that you can avoid the tower, but if you're already in the tower, or if you feel like you need to kind of just go through it anyway, it's going to be fine. All right. We don't see him being hurt by this, just a little bit disconcerted, feeling disconcerting, like what's going on, right? So you're going to be fine. You just have to sort of ease through the change energy. The block this month could be that what you want to do is so different that other people may find that you are kind of like wild or unruly. So we see the stallion in the background. We see her creating her own sort of rhythm. Sometimes when that happens, especially if we have a trendsetter, it can be difficult for other people to understand what you're doing. So those that are ahead of the curve oftentimes are ridiculed, even when it works out. And then later when things do work out, people say, oh yeah, I've always been behind such and such, or I knew that was going to work. So I would say in this moment in time, avoid the naysayers, make the changes necessary, create your own rhythm, your own plan, and know that this is exactly what you're supposed to be doing right here and right now. Okay? Good. All right, so let's move on to just kind of review what we've been doing so far. We did the channeled messages, the 7-day forecast, blessings and blocks. We're going to look at the elemental forecast next. And thank you so much to the people in chat that are already answering that FAQ. If you have a question, a reminder at the very end, you'll see that it says meditation, sound bath, and final card. I pull that final card, which gives you a chance to meditate on a question that you may have. So I don't answer direct questions, but I indirectly will answer it there. Okay. I kind of know what I'm going to be doing for the cards today. I think today I may use the Wildwood for the main deck because I don't know, it just has a really cool sort of nature energy, but we'll see. For this, for elemental forecasts, I'm going to use, I'm going to do a different one. I decided at the last minute. I will use my typical Afro goddess for this, but just for the elemental. All right, so let's give this a shuffle and see what's going on. Again, we're going to look at fire, earth, air, and water. This is the only portion of the reading today that is going to be sign specific. So thank you for understanding that. Let's start off with fire. This is going to be all of my fellow Aries, Leo, or Sagittarius out there. Let's give the cards a good shuffle and see what the message is here. Actually, I'm going to go ahead. Usually I do them. I'm going to pull them all at once just so we can see them. So let's do that, and then I'll go one by one. Aries, Leo, and Sagittarius. And we're going to go to Earth, which is Taurus, Virgo, and Capricorn. And then Air, which is Gemini, Libra, and Aquarius. And our water signs here, Cancer, Scorpio, and Pisces. Now let's bring each one of these up and talk about them, starting first with my fire signs. So fire, you actually connect with one of the days of the week here, Thursday, I believe, yes, because we had the Two of Swords here. So a lot of what I just talked about for the Two of Swords holds true for you. One thing that I also want to kind of highlight here is that it may not be, we talked a little bit with the Four of Wands about not everything is going to be there. Having faith is going to be important. So if we kind of look at the desk here again, and I'll pull the cards down here. So this would be the energy of Monday. I would say Monday and Thursday could be the pivotal days for you. So in Monday, again, we have the Four of Wands where everything is starting to come to a crossroads, but you may not see it. It's the skeletons, if you will, of what's being built. And then we have you having to make a decision on Thursday. Those 2 days seem to kind of spark the most energy and attention to me. And I would say for you, if you just go a little bit within and give yourself a day or two to sort things out, I think it's going to become crystal clear because we see a ostensibly night because of the stars and day here. So give yourself 1 or 2 days to figure it out. For everybody, it's going to be a little bit different, but ultimately you're being pushed to trust yourself. And isn't that annoying sometimes when the answer isn't black and white? Trust yourself, take a side, take a direction, and keep moving. You can always course correct as needed, all right? And I believe that you're going to be just fine on this. It's just a matter of faith. Not always what I would kind of like ascribe to the Two of Swords, but when you read intuitively, different messages will come through, not just the card meanings. And for me, as I'm looking at the Two of Swords, it's saying, have vision, have faith. Ye with little faith, you're not going to be able to sort of like accomplish all that you want. It will not always be black and white. And sometimes when you're walking on the road, there's no one in front or behind you, but you know you're on the right path, okay? So you're not alone, have faith, make the choice, course correct as needed, but there's not a lot of time for delay. I would say 1 to 2 days if you're sitting on something, and then get action started, okay? So that's basically what I'm seeing for Aries, Leo, and Sagittarius. You may want to focus a little bit more on meditation, going inward. You may also, just as a sort of general health message, standard disclaimers apply with this. I'm not a doctor, but I'm just looking at things that could be going on. With the Two of Swords, you may have something going on where you just want to take a look at your eyes and what you're looking at. So figuratively, it's getting a bird's eye view. But if you haven't had an optometrist or ophthalmologist appointment in a while, this is a time to get that looked at. All right. Enough with that. Let's take a look now at what's coming through for my earth signs, Taurus, Virgo, and Capricorn. You're focusing on personal growth, development, and investing in yourself, and also maybe reassessing your investments around you. Let's look at the card for a second, and then I'll put the graphic back up there. But what we see behind this character here is growth, right? Basically, it's almost like a farmer, and you see finally they're starting to see some crops growing, but we're not really seeing, like, if it is something other than spinach, you're not seeing any of like the flowers or the fruit coming through. So one of the common threads this week is to trust in the growth. You can't push growth past a certain point, or it just isn't sort of sustainable. So Taurus, Virgo, and Capricorn, trust that the growth is happening at the rate that it needs to happen with right now. And the other thing is you may be deciding to focus on you. If there's a part of your life that you've neglected, maybe your health, maybe your happiness, this card is coming through to say, all right, I reclaim my divine right to be happy and healthy, and I'm going to work on it. I'm going to do something. You may also be deciding to spend time or energy differently. The fact that it's reversed is saying, I'm going to stop putting all of this there, and I'm going to put some of it back in my energy, in my life. And so that's A-okay. Whenever I'm reading in a sort of personal state like this, I would say for you, it's okay to sometimes be focused on selfish. But we need to do that when we go to school, when we're recovering from an illness, when we want to learn, because we are prioritizing our needs and our better good. So for you, that's really what's coming through. I'm happy that you showed up, just as I would expect, with a nice earthy sort of sign here, so that's good. I look at his eyes, and I really love the stars in his eyes. So a couple things here. You may find yourself feeling starry-eyed, right? So you meet someone, could be a fellow earth sign or just someone really strong and grounded, and it could kind of tip you upside down since this card was reversed, making you feel like head over heels. This is also reminding you of the importance of looking up to the stars. I have a family member that I always like to remind, always look up. We look up at the moon, we look up at the stars or the clouds, but look up, look around. And this kind of really connects you with the star, right? So I would say all of my earth signs, you're even closer than some of the other signs there, because I could see the reflection of the star or the stars in your eyes there, okay? This is a beautiful deck, which is why I use it so much. Great details on that too. The only thing you want to be careful of with this is overindulgence. So for all my earth signs out there, make sure that you are not going overboard when it comes to drinking, eating, or anything else that you're kind of putting into your body or into your environment. Less is more, okay? Let's go ahead now and move along to air signs, Gemini, Libra, and Aquarius. It's a wake-up call for you. It's actually clarity. So we have the Eight of Swords in reverse. And normally with the Eight of Swords, it's very close to what we saw with the fire signs at the beginning with the Two of Swords. But with this one, the fact that you are now liberated, the only thing that you have to choose to do once you see things for what they truly are is decide, I'm ready, okay? So the door has been opened, the blindfold has been removed, the caged door has also been kind of released, but sometimes we pause for a second. So the message to you, to my air signs, is you are free. You're free to leave, you're free to stay, you're free to decide. What you choose to do with your freedom is up to you. But I see ideation, clarity, decision-making being very easy for you this week. There could just be that hesitation of, or even that sort of regret, and I hope you don't have it, of thinking, why didn't I know this sooner? You found out in precisely the divine timing that you were meant to find it out. So all that is important is what you decide to do now with that thought, that energy, and that opportunity. So it's an opening up for you. I know you might be surprised. You're like, Eight of Swords, that's not a great card. It is when it's reversed, because we see the understanding that I am free to move. A lot of times this can be a prison card or a caged card, but when it's reversed, it's the unshackling. It can also be a blind, not seeing, not hearing sort of card. But again, with it being reversed, it's saying, no, it's all open. The door's open. So for air signs out there, it's a nudge to take action, to decide. If you do that, I feel like things are going to be all right. The only other thing that I can think of with this is to make sure that you are careful with not missing something. Again, maybe not missing something obvious when it comes to a checklist of items. Sometimes before I go live, I have to do a bunch of things. I'm like, is the mic in front of me? Is the volume up? Are all the lights on? Do I have the cards and everything ready? Like I have this sort of mental checklist. I also have one here on the side that I can kind of look at. And then I have like a monitor on the side to make sure that you see what I'm seeing and all of that. So a bunch of little things I have to do. Today, the candles didn't get lit, but we did them together. And it's never an accident when that has to happen. But make a list. Do some lists this week. I'm a fellow air sign and I missed something, so you should go ahead and make that list. Let's keep one another accountable. All right, that's it for air. Let's move on to water. Water is Cancer, Scorpio, and Pisces. And for you, you may be getting out the pen or paper and kind of like putting things into action. You might be signing a contract. You may also say, when I mentioned earlier that something doesn't work, you might be saying yes or no to something. I love an ace card. I love the Ace of Swords. It's taking action. It's speaking up. For you, this is closely connected to the energy of next Saturday with the King of Swords in reverse. So some of you may have someone in your life that you're going to reclaim the sword from. This is the other side of the equation here. So if someone stepped in and did something or stole the thunder or whatever, you're going to reclaim your power. Okay, it's not literally going into their energy and having to do anything. It's just the understanding that you had the sword all along. They made you think that you lost that power to speak, to act, to do, but you always had the power. So you're going to reclaim it, and you're going to possibly more forcefully or more directly than you're used to say and do what you need to do. And it's going to be fine. New opportunity for my fellow water signs this week. And for many of you, because emotions and feelings are so much a part of your sign, you're going to have to say what's on your mind. If something's upsetting you, let it out, let it go. If you can't talk to the person that you need to talk to, then talk to a friend or a counselor. But it's going to be important to write it or say it or do it. You can't kind of keep it in. That's when the sort of pot bubbles over if you're making pasta or something, right? So really good week overall. It is about kind of like awakening if I were to look at all of them together here. So again, let me just slide the cards up just a smidge here so you can see them. So again, for fire, you're really going to be deciding to take action and to do something. For earth, you're going to invest and focus on yourselves a little bit more and really grow. It's a time to grow. And then for all of my air signs, it's freedom and liberation. You just have to trust yourself as you go into that. Faith was also a piece of the message for fire. And then, of course, for water, speaking and acting and creating. Very active week for my fellow water signs out there. This is a time for you to really do what you need to do. Okay, overall, the energy is beautiful, and I like what I see. All right, so a reminder, if you're brand new, you came at a really good time here. What I'm going to do right now is the viewers and readers' choice. Let me just clear the table a bit so I can get that set up. And I'm going to keep the 7-day forecast while I'm doing this just so I can see it. Actually, I will keep these cards here while I'm doing this just so I can ask the questions, and then we'll go and clear the desk. All right, so we're going to start first by me typing out a reader's choice where you can vote on something, some trends that I see, and then I'm just going to automatically pick one other one. The one that I'm looking at that I want to help you with is the star. So as a reader, I've chosen that, but I'm going to give you a choice on some other ones. So let me just see here. Viewer's choice, and let's take a look at some options here. So as I'm looking at the week ahead for you, I'm drawn, for whatever reason, straight to the Eight of Cups. And with the Eight of Cups, I really want to understand how you can regulate the cycles in your life. So regulating cycles. This could be love, it could be wealth, and we'll see what comes through with that. The other thing that I'm curious about is the voice here. So finding, using, and finding and using your voice. And then the last thing that I'm called to look at here is the balance card here with the Six of Pentacles. So knowing how and when to say no. So those are your choices. I'll let you vote on them while I'm doing this. While you're making that vote happen, I'm going to go ahead now and take a look at what you can do to really become the star, because I feel like that's closely aligned to the Phoenix energy today as well. All right, so I'm going to use Divine Tarot on this one, or Tarot of the Divine. Let's pull a card here and see what you can do to really ease into the energy of the star. Interesting. Not what I would expect to see for this, but it's important. So we have the 10 of Swords here. So the one thing that could hold you back from being able to fully kind of like ascend into the highest energy is an unnecessary argument. And we see someone here who is not, it's a gruesome scene, but that's usually what happens with the 10 of Swords. They are trying to take away someone's hands here or fingers. So to me, this is disenfranchising. There could be someone in your life that is afraid of your ascension, your ability to use and sort of like celebrate whatever your gift is. So if that person exists in your life, they are indeed showing up as the character of the 10 of Swords, the sort of antagonist, not the protagonist, so the person that's making it worse. So you're going to decide not to engage with someone in a low frequency. And instead, remember what I talked about in the vision, to cooperate, to join hands together, and to say, we've got this, we can overcome this. I don't really watch scary movies anymore, but there is a theme in scary movies as well with a dark antagonist where if people band together, they can overcome that shadow energy. And I'm not going to give more power to any of the shadow energies by naming any of those movies or books, but we all know about that. Usually there's a group of people and you stand up. It's making a stand. So you may be a leader in moving the energy in the right direction by not meeting the lower frequency at that lower frequency. If you've kind of reached a full stop, which can also be a part of the 10 of Swords, you have nowhere to go but up. So focus instead, as we saw with this beautiful card, on realigning yourself to a higher purpose, the stars in his eyes, and then reach, keep on reaching, even if someone treated you poorly. That's just their moment, that's their truth. That doesn't necessarily equate to your capacity or your truth, okay? Let's see what's in the lead here. Looks like we do have a clear lead, regulating cycles of love and wealth. So we're going to be looking at the Eight of Cups. The Eight of Cups, like I said earlier, does have with it the opportunity of second chances. So let's go ahead now and take a look and see what's coming through on that one. So give it a good shuffle, and we're going to see what the universe wants to tell us about Eight of Cups, whether it's a second chance or how to regulate a cycle. It might be a little bit of both. Let's see what the energy is here. Eight of Wands, and we have a lovely phoenix-like bird flying here. So I love that. Perfectly in alignment with what we're talking about right now. Let me quickly show you this. We have the Eight of Wands, which to me is exactly what I was hoping for when I mentioned this earlier. A lot of times when we're going through changes in our life or opportunities in our life, there's this feeling of If I could only see what comes next, if I only knew, especially for business, if I knew what was coming, 2 months from now, 8 months from now, 1 year from now. So for you, one of the things that you want to be focusing on is creating more predictability in your life. The Eight of Wands also, by the way, is a community card. So I'm going to look at both elements on this one. So let's start first and foremost as trying to create the predictability. So we have like a winter scene here. This could also indicate from now until, let's say, like August is when you're going to see some of this growth happening, because many parts of the world are in winter right now. So this kind of fits nicely with that. So that means that you don't expect things to change overnight. You're going to give yourself at least 6 months, if not 8 months, for all of the change that you want to happen to fully sort of take root and grow. One thing that's cool about the metaphor of winter, and it's kind of unique that we see winter in the Eight of Wands, it's almost never that way, is that there is the illusion of death or a lack of growth or stagnation when you're in winter. You look at the tree and you think, how's it ever going to grow again? There's no leaves on it. You look at the ground and it's barren and frozen. The grass is dead. And you think to yourself, it's over. But it's not. You give it a couple months and everything starts to melt. Buds start to push through the bark and life begins anew. So for many of you, if there is sporadic energy, it's just reinforcing that growth takes time. I want you to plant more seeds in this sort of portion of your life rather than fewer. Keep putting energy into the opportunities. Keep focusing on creating that cosmic garden of growth for yourself, because it's going to happen. The Eight of Wands is also a people card. Very rarely do you see the people in it, but where do you think all of those flying wands came from? It's like javelin, people throwing those wands in the air. So there's a lot of other people that you can rally around. The team energy that has been a big part of today's reading is definitely part of that as well. So lean on and delegate to people around you so that you can create more consistency and more abundance. And if you're wondering perhaps why someone hasn't connected to you, there is a correlation between the Eight of Cups and the Eight of Wands. They may just be really busy. And it's going to be a question of just making sure that if you want more, you'll have to ask for more and then see where you sit on that. The cool thing, though, is that we got another 8 and it's another card of abundance and it's trending in the right direction, but it's saying it's going to take some time. So the cycles are going to balance out, but give it 6 to 8 months. Maybe if you're really good at manifesting, 6 to 8 weeks, and you're going to start to see things better and more kind of like predictable and more where you want them to be. Okay, good question, great card. Okay, today I'm going to use a deck that I haven't used for a while, Wildwood, because I like all of the nature energy on it. And I just felt inspired. So we're going to move along now to the main part of the reading. This is going to be the special topic, the Celtic Cross. And again, this portion is going to be for everybody present. So if you're here, there's a message for you, and I'm glad that you're here. All right, just give me a second here to clear everything and put it in the right place, and then we're going to get started. Okay, so by the way, while I'm doing that, if you do enjoy what you're seeing, give me a like and subscribe if you haven't already. It helps with the growth of the channel, and it costs nothing. I just appreciate it. And if you're new and you'd like to follow me on social media, there's all of my links. Thanks as well to anyone that gave back. I will say thank you at the end. All right, let's get started. I'm going to shuffle everything, and we're going to look at this through the lens of being able to rise from the ashes, create something new. My message already to all of you is that you're not as stuck as you think you are, and today's spread is going to help you get into that energy of movement, okay? This is one of my favorite decks because of all of that vivid imagery there. I'm gonna take myself off for a second so we can see all the cards. There's that wild steed that we saw a little bit earlier. A reminder that this portion of the reading is evergreen, and basically what that means is that it's anytime. So if you feel like you need a pick-me-up at some point and you want to revisit this, it's not only good for this period of time. Usually once you do watch it, the energies will carry you through 6 to 8 weeks, as always. All right, let's get started here. So we're going to begin with what came through here in your catalyst position. I always get a question. This is the Wild Unknown Oracle deck. You can go to my website, and this particular one isn't listed, but I will eventually do the oracles because you guys ask Maria all the time what I'm using, so eventually I'll put them up there. But for now, just know that if you click on the link, it'll take you to her site, and it's there. All right, so we have the River card here, and it's reversed, but the interesting thing with the River card is that it never really looks reversed. It's about projections and reflections. So let's bring it up close real quick so you can see it. So the River in reverse is actually saying that the universe is showing you something that you maybe didn't realize was there. And upon reflection, you can see the action is already happening. You can see what's already available to you because ostensibly this is what it would look like. You would be standing in there looking at that. So what we see is act now. If we had to kind of pull the catalyst message front and foremost, it's act now. And you may see it before you see it. And that was one of the messages that we had before when I was talking about having faith. So you definitely may see something start to come into fruition in your head and your heart before you see it actually manifest in everyday life, okay? I call it a catalyst because it helps us stay in the highest possible energy. It helps us see action and activity happen. So for many of you, the minute you believe and the minute you start to invest, you're going to see a return on that investment. So hopefully this inspires you to get busy. The River, by definition, needs to kind of wind around and flow. Your center card is a different sort of illustration of temperance, balance, everything. There are a few. Normally I don't like the renamed cards on this one, but it's not bad. I do like this one. It kind of makes sense. So finding the balance and being able to kind of like flow around, I think is going to be really, really important for you. Okay, let's put that to the side here and let's get back into the general spread. Smack dab in the center, I was just talking about temperance. We have the balance card here. And for some of you, I mentioned earlier, let me see, I'm going to pull the card here just for comparison so we can see it. But it's a lot like this card. I was telling you, these are two different cards of balance. So this one, you're literally kind of enraptured in and connected to someone else. This one, we see the same sort of energy with the same message at the bottom. So instead of temperance, we're seeing balance. You're supposed to find the balance that might be lacking in your life. But sometimes when you are partnered, whether that's marriage, friendship, or even just sort of like looking after someone, their life, their problems, their issues become yours, and you kind of lose the core of you. So this is a chance for you to kind of reclaim it and to find what it is that you want, who it is that you are, making sure that that piece of you hasn't been sort of like lost in the shuffle. Crossing this, we have the Tower. I mentioned that the Tower should make some appearances, and so this is the second appearance, right? It came in the blessings, and now it's coming as the crossing card. So in this particular one, it's the Blasted Oak. And the Blasted Oak here, much like that sort of, here, I'll pull the other card. It's coming through as trees in a lot of these, and it's not always trees. Usually it's traditionally a castle where there's lightning and there's people being thrown from the castle. So we have a tree here also being hit, or some sort of, it looks to me like a tree anyway. And For many of you, that means that it's going to be a chance to reset the environment. So some of you, let's look at this together. You may be at a crossroads in the journey where you are too tied up by someone or in something. And so what we see here with the Devil card is it's basically saying there's a block here. So you're going to remove the block. Removing the block could mean that you're just going to take some TNT and destroy that bridge. Not all bridges are worth keeping open. It's okay. When we saw the energy, by the way, earlier when we were looking at the Eight of Cups, one thing that's important with the Eight of Cups card, when you were asking me to look at it, I'm going to answer it even a little bit more deeply here. Sometimes the Eight of Cups is a lack of, what's the best word? Like not finality, but it's sort of like closure. A lack of closure. So sometimes it's good to leave the door open. Like if you quit a job and they say, if you ever change your mind, come back here or you can consult, that's good. That's hunky-dory. But sometimes when it's a relationship, it can be very messy because you're not sure, you can't truly move on to the next person or opportunity because you're connected to the past person or opportunity. So what we're looking at here at the center is closure. This is that being wrapped up in someone. This is sometimes how difficult it is to exist now without that. And then this is sometimes holding on to it here, the Devil here. So we have Temperance, kind of like being on the edge here, 1 foot in, 1 foot out. We have the Blasted Oak trying to kind of separate, and then we have the Devil. We also have the Lovers here. So I feel like some of you may be, there may be someone new coming into your life, but in order for that to fully take root, there has to be a release of something old. And that's kind of how change works, right? We can't constantly stay in what was, all right? But I see change as a pivotal piece of rising from the ashes. Because you're the Phoenix in this reading, it doesn't matter. We would expect to see Death or the Tower, and we got the Tower. So I'm happy that that came through, and it's coming through in the middle. Not as the outcome, not as a block. It's already underway. When we go into your deep past here, we have, surprise, surprise, the King of Swords again. So he just showed up a moment ago. He was reversed. We're seeing him again here. He's upright. And the important thing here again is just like when I was talking about the Egyptian creation god, the one that is connected to Ra, that sort of sang a song or said a word and the world began. Everything ends and begins with simple statements. So the statement, if you say I love you to someone, if you say I do to someone, if you say no or no more, like you can, or I quit, it doesn't take a lot of words, right? It can take 1, 2, or 3 words. I just gave you examples. Yes or no, I do, I won't, no way, or I love you. Those combinations of words, we have like, I don't know how many in the dictionary, but we have a lot. You don't need to use all of them. You only need to use a core few and use them well. So use your voice. Don't worry about how articulate you are. Focus instead on using your tools and using them well. You're going to be fine. Your voice is going to carry, your words are going to create or destroy, and either way, you're going to be able to rise above that, okay? We have the hawk as the symbol on this card, so it's also saying to read the signs and read the room and read the nonverbal language. That also involves listening. So listening to the tone of the person that's speaking, watching the nonverbal, whatever they're doing with their body, and then also reading the room. Is this the right time to say this? What do other people think when you're saying it to them? Are they siding with that person or you? Read all of those cues and then use your voice and then take action, okay? I'm very happy to see here the forest lovers or the lovers here in the recent past. This is a reminder, it's so interesting. We see the binding of 2 energies here, and we see potentially the unbinding or rebinding coming on in this particular energy. You can always decide, sorry, the card decided to fly away. You can always decide at any point in time to kind of like change something up. We don't have to be stuck forever in a job, in a contract, and you may want to take a look at that, by the way. So if you're going to, particularly if you're going to get married or if you're going to start a new job, this one, as illustrated, could show a bond that is too tight or too restrictive. So if there's a need for a prenuptial agreement, if there's a need for a contract negotiation when it comes to a job, If there's a need for some sort of a clause or revision, by all means, do that, because I feel like that's going to help you in the future. If we fast forward here, one of the ways that you can assure your sort of like rising from the ashes or ascension is to make sure in the first place that it isn't too restrictive, right? So that's really, really important. Sorry, this was a Knight of Swords for those that asked, so I'm lifting it up. So I said King of Swords, you're right, it's Knight of Swords. I need to keep my glasses on. But the message stays the same on that one. I would say the only thing that's different with a Knight of Swords is first of all, usually Knights are going to be in the middle. And usually taking the orders, not making the orders. The thing here that I would say, based on everything that we've seen, just to revise a little bit what I said, is to make sure that if you are carrying out someone else's wishes, that it meets your own code of conduct. A knight lives by a sort of moral code. So if you are deviating from a code that is not authentic to yourself, remembering what we saw on, what was it, Friday, with the star reversed, this can absolutely be you doing something that you don't want to do. So you can be the king, you can stand up to the king, you can do what's right if you need to. So use your voice, use it wisely, and if you're carrying out someone else's voice or commands, make sure that you are aligned to that. Otherwise, it might be time to focus on that core relationship, and that actually ties nicely to what we were talking about here. Sometimes you have to cut the cord or say, no, that's not going to work, okay? As we look at your crowning card here, we have Queen of Wands. I love the Queen of Wands. I actually really love the way that it's illustrated here. Listening, again, being key, just like I listened and saw something there. Paying attention to the little cues, it's going to help you so much. Now, the only thing that's missing from this, we basically got fertility and abundance in a big way on this one. But the thing that I miss on this one is the sunflower. I also miss the fact that it's kind of in a desert and that she can find abundance no matter what. So let's talk about the traditional card, and then we'll look at the special messages with this particular version of it. So if you find yourself up against a brick wall, Queen of Wands energy is about seeing through the wall or seeing past or beyond what's available and finding a way to reach over in this area or pick up the phone or type up an email and kind of open up a portal. So she's like a mage, really. She can open up that portal and just get past that block. So don't focus on the block, focus on who can get you to the next level. Now, what we see here is definitely paying attention to what's being said and not being afraid. Rabbits and hares sometimes are a little jittery. So if you hear something that makes you feel uncomfortable, ask first and say, did I hear that correctly? Or what do you think about this? Or get some additional insight. Listen. And then decide what to do. And don't act too quickly. No knee-jerk reactions, basically, on that. Okay, that's the special piece that came through with this particular illustration. Okay, moving into the near future here, we have the Guardian card. So when we reconnect or ground this into the purpose of being the Phoenix, this is possibly your most important block. So let's pull the card closer to the camera and talk about it. I had to read with this card a lot before I memorized it as the devil. And even occasionally I have some here that I have a little translation thing to make sure that I didn't miss any. But yeah, this one is the devil. What's interesting about this is some of us, when we reach a pinnacle of success and when opportunity is about to open up to us, the universe will present us with a block. And it is sort of making sure that we don't enter through to that next thing before we're ready. So the question with the Guardian here is, do you believe in yourself? Are you ready to let go? Are you afraid? It wants you to be afraid, but you shouldn't be afraid. That's basically what we see with this. And ultimately, this is just a skeleton. If you watch Pirates of the Caribbean or any of those movies, you can just kind of like break the skeletons are not that scary. It's also about the skeleton in your closet. What is it that you're afraid for people to see or know? When you embrace the skeleton in your closet, then it becomes what it should be in your body, which is the support. It's our trunk, right? It's sort of like what holds us together and allows us to not kind of just be like a jellyfish. So I want you to look into your closet, and whatever it is that you're afraid of, spend some time over the next few days or few weeks or few months, depending on what the skeleton is, and fix it, make peace with it, hug that skeleton until it just sort of morphs back into you, and then there's nothing blocking the way. The path is clear. So there's something in the realm of acceptance that you need to overcome before you're able to succeed. Also interesting, harder to see because we're using a derivative of the Rider-Waite-Smith deck, and not just Rider-Waite-Smith. These are the same energy expressed differently. So traditionally, if we look at the Devil card and the Lovers card, you're going to see two lovers in a forest where there's an angel behind them. And typically with the Devil card, you're going to see two individuals with the devil, and then they're chained together. They could still be that lover's energy, but it's now a lower version of it where things like fear, anxiety, sort of like even lies and mistreatment and all that other stuff kind of enters in lower frequency energy instead of love and respect and transparency. So there's a lesson coming full circle, which is love yourself, expect others to reciprocate that unconditional love. And if there are conditions placed upon your love, your person, in order to be successful or in order for a door to open, that is the wrong person, place, or thing that you're looking at. So there's one little karmic lesson there as well, as in addition to looking into the figurative closet and saying, I'm at peace with the mistakes, with the choices, with all of myself, light and shadow, and I'm not afraid to show all of that. Do that and you become the star and you become the Lovers upright. The reason that the Lovers is reversed here is we have a little bit of that energy here that's blocking you. It is nicer that it's called the Guardian instead of the Devil, but it is sort of a bit misleading for some of us to kind of understand that. It's more like the universe is holding you back for a second to say, integrate the lesson, then you can move on, okay? So this is the most important piece. Listen to your heart. That's what the Queen of Bows or the Queen of Wands is saying here. All right, let's go ahead now and move on to how you're showing up. And we have a nice playful energy here, Page of Vessels, the otter. So let's look at it close up here. And one of the things that I like with any sort of animal that can kind of go between two elements is flexibility. So the otters can go between the water and the earth, and also even wood and all of that. So we see almost all the elements available. And there's a playful energy with it too. So you're showing up right now as being likable, approachable, creative, and flexible. And if you lean into all of those things, then you're going to bring the same sort of energy into your life. Like energy attracts like energy. Is it time? Is love available to you right now? Yes. So if you've loved and lost, you can love again. Or if you've loved and have wondered, can I reconnect with someone? Yes. There's a very forgiving and playful energy here. One thing that I want you to also kind of pay attention to, though, is people may be drawn to you, but make sure that they are worthy of the work you've done on yourself as well. Because you've really done a lot of shifting and moving and changing. There may be someone that comes into your life that seems to check off a lot of the boxes, but they're not available, or they won't commit. So specifically looking at romantic energies, if someone in your life gives all the indications that they care about you, but they're unable to sort of give that final commitment and say, I love you, or yes, let's do this. This also works, by the way, if you're in a company and they're keeping you freelance forever. Do they truly love you unconditionally if they will not commit? That's a big question mark. I think the answer is no, but you can talk that through with them. Also, you deserve better than being second or third fiddle. So no puns intended here, because we kind of have the musical instruments. So make sure that someone can give you 100% or close to that, okay? Or if it's 60-40 or 50-50 or whatever it is, that you're happy, all right? So that's the important thing here. We see a lot of attractive energy, a lot of playful energy, but make sure that the person or the business or the opportunity that you're engaging with is going to give back, that they're not just going to be a taker, okay? I really like what's in the environment. We have another ace card here, or an ace card here, I should say. It's the first in this particular spread, but we have the Ace of Wands, and I love that it says the spark of life, right? It's kind of interesting that this is, we're seeing the sort of, we don't want a forest fire here or anything, but sometimes if we connect with this, that spark can be like lightning in a bottle, right? And sometimes it does have to clear a little bit. I'm not a big fan of fires living in Southern California, and I'm sure my fellow Australians out there, we know that there's times of the year where it's kind of crazy. One of the cool things, though, that happens in a natural and smaller kind of fire is that this can also bring about new growth. So years before probably humans were on the planet, and this just sort of happened as a cleansing thing, a lot of times underbrush and all the sort of like things could get too bulky. And so what a fire would do is clear it out. And there's certain seeds that actually the outer shell of them disappear in a fire, and then they can sprout up. New trees and all those little seedlings then can live and push through. So in a natural sort of thing that happened without intervention, there's a rhyme and a reason to it. So as you spark change, there could be a clearing that needs to happen in your life in order for the growth to happen. So I see a really cool idea coming through. The card is reversed, so some of you might be second guessing, like, what can I do with that? What does that mean? So don't go too far down that rabbit hole. The bigger thing I would say for you is just to make space, make time, and make some room in your life for all of the sort of opportunity to really take root and take hold. Because this is in your environment, someone may come to you and say, hey, I think you're the right person for this, or hey, what do you think about this? You're kind of being tapped for energy, for information, etc. Make sure, if this is some sort of an advisory position, that you are protected, your intellectual property is protected on this. So there's definitely a little bit of that trickster energy that I saw in my dreams this morning coming through as like a fairy or a sprite or something like that. There's someone that thinks they can get the better of you, but you're watching this reading and you're intuitive anyway, so you're going to pick up on that and say no, and make sure that everything is in order first. Protect yourself. That's going to be really important. That's going to help you come back from anything, is the protection and then the understanding of the lesson that karmically wants to get out of your energy right now. If anybody just wants to kind of like focus on brainstorming or learning, this is also a really good placement for that as well. So I like that. Of course, music too here. Even though I'm looking at this as a, it's bow and arrow, it kind of reminds me of like a harp or what we would see with, or like a fiddle. That's what I'm seeing with this. So some of you may be learning how to play, or even like, I don't know why I'm seeing both instruments and like coding. So you might just be learning how to put things together in a new order that kind of creates something beautiful. So that's great. All right, let's move on to hopes, fears, and opportunities. I love this card. I love that they put bears in this particular deck here. So we have the Queen of Pentacles. We got a mama bear that is upset, or a papa bear, but it's, either way here. But basically saying, this is my space. So territorial energy could play a really pivotal piece in you being able to rise up or get past an obstacle in your life. As the reversal of this card, it's saying, don't be afraid. If a secure leader is one that actually fosters a lot of growth and strength and very positive energy around them. An insecure leader, it's kind of crazy to be around them if you've ever had that, because they're constantly wondering what's going on here, what's going on there. Ultimately, they actually create or manufacture their own worst fear, because people just start talking and they see them as less effective. So hold true to your strength and your vision. Don't be afraid if you have strong people around you. That means you're doing a good job. Again, a lot of introspective energy coming through with the Pentacles reversed. You may have someone in your life that has a hard time giving back to you, though, because we're no longer looking at just you. We're looking at what might be a fear. And so you might just be afraid that someone's going to take too much or not want what you have to offer, or they're just selfish and they're not listening. So you have to be as strong as possible to not be bothered by that. That's going to be the challenge here. I do think that protecting what's yours is okay when it comes to intellectual property, privacy, your belongings, your family, your anything that you really hold near and dear. It was more like the ego piece that I would say don't worry about. But when it comes to tangible things in your life, we want that mama bear. Who doesn't want that protecting you, right? No one's getting past that. Some of you may also just have a jealous third party, especially since we have the devil energy on this particular spread. There could be someone here that's just jealous of you coming in. So this could be you're new to a job and they don't want to train you because they're afraid of that. There could be you're meeting someone and they're not fully unattached. So making sure that you're careful of that, because I definitely see territorial energy. The one nice thing with the Queen of Pentacles, she has a Midas touch. So with the Queen of Pentacles and the Queen of Wands on your side, I feel very, very positive about what you can do. So this is the magic card, even though she's not illustrated quite that way. And to be honest, the hair should probably be on, I would have reversed these two, but I would say the hair should probably be on the Queen of Pentacles because we normally see her as a symbol of abundance. But these are complementary energies, so I'm just going to read them together and show you. With the two together, we see someone who can tap into resources and make more. We see someone who can go past limitations and help you see it from a different point of view. And together, these are really good. It's a really good match. If you're we'll look at love and relationships in a few moments, but if you're in relationships, this is kind of like a perfect pairing. The only problem here is one person focuses more on what do I get out of it? And the other person is trying to see like the higher good. So in relationships, that's what's getting in the way. We'll dig a little deeper later, but ultimately, I like this card and I like what I'm seeing here. All right, finally, we have an unusual Nine of Swords here. Normally with the Nine of Swords, we would have someone that's having a difficult time sleeping. So in this particular deck, bows are wands and arrows are swords. So this is reversed, but let me just pull the card up right so we get a good look at it. What she's doing right now is I feel like the opportunity here is to focus on what's available. There's a lot of stuff I feel like there's a lot of energy that's been wasted. So I look at this as reclamation. So maybe she's going back after all these swords have been used and spent and recollecting them and deciding like, let's go back, let me dedicate myself to that path. The one thing that I would say with the Nine of Swords is usually that if there is anything in your life that you are fearing or that you are worrying about, typically the energy around that is not as bad as it may seem. It just is sort of like all encompassing. It's entering into your thoughts. Sometimes if you have an argument with someone or if they've just been particularly rude or mean to you, they're just stuck in that space for a bit, right? And sometimes when we feel wronged, let's say you were let go, made redundant, fired, or that someone just stopped talking to you. It's all kind of the same energy. It's like feeling like someone's dumping you, right? When we have that feeling of disconnection or mistreatment, it just keeps playing and playing and playing and replaying. And this particular card is reminding us to recollect our thoughts, pick up the pieces, and use that arsenal of energy for something that's more worth it, okay? Dedicate yourself to a higher and more worthy cause. Enough said with that. All right, let's go ahead now and we're going to expand the forecast. So even when I do these special topics, I like to expand the forecast. We're going to look at health, wealth, love, and destiny. And each one of these is multi-part. Health is mind, body, spirit. Wealth is going to include your soul path as well as what's going on with career and money. Love is going to be all types of relationships, and destiny is malleable. Okay, let's take a look at your health message for this month. There's our Ten of Swords. And also, for some of you, just an opening of the throat chakra. So we'll get a close look at this first. So that's the first thing that I saw, was just feeling all that sort of fiery energy in the throat. And a lot of times this is exactly what I was kind of talking about with the Nine of Swords. It's what people have said, and it makes you want to just scream and get that energy out. So please find a way to channel whatever it is that's making you either extremely happy or extremely upset, whatever's kind of pushing you to those extremes. It's going to be really, really important for you right now to find a nice and productive way to get that out. You know, we were looking at the Ace of Wands. This can be, believe it or not, it can be dancing or, we saw Ace of Swords earlier, writing, but somehow recording or acting it out. That's going to be key, that in a way that's creative and non-destructive. The other thing is, when we're more sort of like symbolically looking at how this can connect with you, some of you may be finding a way to use your voice, even though originally I thought it was a king, it's a knight, The Knight of Swords is really just about speaking up. So you might have to speak up even if you don't want to speak up. The standard disclaimer applies with when I'm looking at health. I'm not a doctor. I'm an intuitive reader. So if you have any problems in your health or body, you take care of that with a doctor or a professional. But all of that being said, an area that you might want to focus on with those professionals would be the throat. So areas that can be connected with the throat. Of course, it can be like the voice box. It can be the tonsils. It can be the thyroid. It can be the upper back, like the neck here. So many things are kind of contained within this part of the body that sometimes we let go. So make sure that when you get your physical and all of that, you check it out. And of course, it could just be a sore throat or a cough. A lot of times these sort of openings are reminding us to find a way to kind of heal that part of our life too. Because weaknesses in the body often are attached to weaknesses in our life. So we want to look at the physical ailment, the sort of spiritual energy that's kind of blocked, and then also the environmental things. So, I'm not the doctor, but I can help you with the other pieces. So fix all of those pieces and then work with the doctor too, if you need to. The rest of you, this could just be stress relief. That's really what I'm seeing with that. And avoiding the 10 of Swords, okay, for sure. Let's go ahead now and take a look at some specific messages for health. So the biggest one that we have to deal with is the Devil card. Devil card is about accepting what needs to be done and deciding to truly do it. So I mentioned in the channel messages, the 7 of Swords. The 7 of Swords and the Devil card are like best friends because the 7 of Swords works with the energy of the devil, which is like lying to others or lying to yourself. So just get real with yourself. And if there's someone in your life that's not ready to accept the help, you probably can't make them do it, right? They're going to have to come to that on their own. And until then, you just sort of wait and keep the door open. Detangling or decoupling or somehow cleaning up the energy between you and another person is going to be key. And it will happen one way, shape, or form. You need to kind of listen to the timing on that as well. Make sure that they're listening to you as well. There's going to be some challenges with that. For many of you, you've gone with the flow long enough and now you're ready to sort of like take the ship and move it in a different direction. And that's A-okay. Other messages with health. I do want you to focus on also just listening to your body, listening to others, listening to the little cries for help or also compliments. Sometimes we don't listen to what people are trying to sort of like show us. Much of what you need this month is being told or sort of like shown to you. So the more you can kind of open up, the better. You might be coming out of hibernation. So some of you are feeling this desire to work out a little bit more, to take action, and I think that's all around pretty good. Focus on your sleeping. Last night because of the colorful energies that come through sometimes, I woke up at like 1 o'clock. So I was like, okay, I'll just get one more thing done and then I'll go back to sleep. One thing that I do sometimes, and I feel very well rested today, but I just kind of, if I don't freak out if I'm awake, I listen to my body. So sometimes I don't need to sleep or don't want to sleep. So I just do some work and then I go back to sleep when I'm ready. So don't force yourself. The worst thing sometimes is just to sit there and focus on the insomnia or on the sort of hiccup. So if you are awake, usually reading or working will get you real tired real fast. So redirect the energy and see if that will help as well. Focus on the way your room is set up, how much light is there, how comfortable the bed is, what you're listening to or ingesting before you go to bed. And all of those things have sort of an effect on it. For me, it's because I fell asleep not in my bed first and then I had to move there. And that's why I was like, okay. So just focus on being kind to your body. We all go through those little interruptions. It doesn't look like it's going to be a major problem, but some of you may need more of a sort of regularity with the sleep schedule or routine. Okay, let's move on to the next one. So we just looked at health. We're going to look at wealth here. Not what I would expect always to come through with this. It says, I choose to focus on the lighter side of life. We have Buddha at the center, trying to be calm, trying to be zen. What's kind of difficult sometimes is if somebody tries to joke about your situation and you don't find that it's funny. I think it's okay for you to say, that's not a joking matter, I take it serious. Like, I can see what you're saying, but maybe wrong timing. So you can always give that feedback or that note to someone. But if we have a sense of humor, if we can laugh a little bit, if we can go with the flow, things are easier. So try to find a place where you can laugh, where you can, you can try to enjoy things a bit more, and that's going to be key. I found that my favorite jobs are the ones where you can kind of have that interaction with your coworkers, where you can joke or have a good laugh. So, because then they become friends and it doesn't just feel like you're working all the time. Okay. So if you don't know, I mean, now that I've done lives, you can see that back when I used to just pre-record all of them, I was very serious. I have a little bit more personality, I think, that comes through on the lives. But when I work really hard, I also laugh and have a good time. So all of my old corporate cohorts know that I have a great sense of humor, and that's key to success. Otherwise, you're going to lose your mind. So you got to laugh sometimes to get through it. Let's specifically just look at some other messages with respect to the cards here when it comes to wealth. I think I've already said this before, but you want to make sure that you have flexibility and room to grow, that you're not tied too tightly. I worked at a company that when it came to intellectual properties, like if you were contracted by them, they owned your work in perpetuity throughout the universe and other dimensions. Like I talked to someone that still works there, and they were like, yeah, now they're even looking at the multiverse and other dimensions. It's actually like in the contract. That is too much. I don't want to give away future lifetimes worth of this work. So you can definitely say no to a restrictive contract like that. There's no need to have the right to use it on Jupiter, Venus, Mars, and the fifth dimension or whatever. Like, that's too much. So put your foot down if you need to. And then also make sure that when it comes to things that you're looking at the fine print, not just that, but other things. And if it's too good to be true, it might be too good to be true. Okay. Yes, other dimensions. I'm not joking. All right. So let me see what else is going on here. I do like that we have the Queen of Pentacles here and the Queen of Wands here. So you, first of all, very good boss energy with the Queen of Wands, and with the Queen of Pentacles, a very good magnet for resources. All you got to do is ask. And that's basically what she's saying. So make sure that you ask. And for the record, it wasn't Scientology, it was corporate. So someone's asking, I'm like, nope, it's just a big old corporation. So you have to look at those contracts for sure. But these two power cards will allow you to negotiate in a situation like that and say, no, this, not that. And usually there's some flexibility. Sometimes there isn't, and that might be a chance for you to really decide, is this too much? Or what will I get if I give this up? Sometimes it's not a big deal, and it's not like your magnum opus, but if it is your magnum opus, be careful with that. And then ultimately, just make sure you're getting enough rest, because a tired mind is not a strong mind. It's hard to kind of focus when all of that's happening, right? Okay. Overall, pretty good. And you can have a little laugh about some of this like we just did. And I think that's going to be key. Having fun, laughing, connecting with people, that's going to be ever so important. All right. You got two cards here when we're looking at relationships. The first one is the grasshopper spirit, taking a leap of faith. There could be someone or something new in your life where it just feels like, if I don't do this now, when am I going to do it? Age could be an issue. Location could be an issue. And ultimately, you're going to weigh the pros and cons and probably just go for it. Okay. So I like what we see with that. Grasshoppers are pretty good, though, at bringing a lot in. The only thing with them sometimes is they overconsume. Grasshoppers and locusts can kind of like wipe things clean. So I would say for you, pacing yourself in a new relationship is going to be important, and making sure that the other person is giving and taking. Hey, buddy, we'll bring you up at the end. Apollo's wanting to say hello. I'll bring him up at the very end so you guys can see him. All right, so here's the interesting one of the two. We've got the bee spirit. Sweet results await. So there's a lot of different things that you can look at with the bee spirit in relationships. First of all, typically, and we see it in the spread, there can only be one queen bee. So there could be a power struggle going on in relationships, whether it's work or personal. There's like one queen bee. Then there's also, bees are very Hierophant oriented. I've used them in totems enough to kind of know them inside out, but there's like worker bees, and then there's the, which are usually female. And then I think there's like the drones, which mate, and then there's a queen bee. But they have these sort of delineated roles. And when nothing derives or goes away from that, I should say, deviates from that. So knowing your place, and then also sometimes knowing that you're going to stake a claim to something new, it's going to be a challenge. But I look at this as abundance, and the sweet part of this is focusing on why you were attracted to something in the first place. it's for the nectar here for the bee, but there's something sweet about a person, place, or thing. And if that sweetness goes away, the bee is going to move on to something else. All right, let's quickly look at the different types of relationships, and then we'll focus on the final message up here, the outcome, the destiny card. And I know we're getting close to our point, so I'll make sure that I move through this at a decent pace here. All right, for those of you in a relationship, the most important thing is control, or allowing for the other person to have the freedom that they need. And again, sometimes going with the flow here, and also remembering that things have to move forward. You can't hold another person back. You can't catch lightning in a bottle. Only if we're looking at, a movie on TV is that going to work. You're going to have to sort of focus on allowing to give people the freedom that they need. So I think in current relationships, honesty and freedom. Honesty, because the devil oftentimes is not honest. It's dishonest. So speaking the truth, giving one another the freedom to do what they need to do is key. Not getting so tied up in the other person that you lose yourself, as we said earlier. Making the necessary changes and listening to one another, keeping an open mind. Avoiding the sort of territorial stuff that we talked about as well, and never having a conversation when you're tired or angry. The good news is when we look here at how you're showing up, you have this really attractive and playful sort of energy. So I think you can work your magic, and you can kind of be a lot more engaging than you might give yourself credit for. So that's good. The devil can also indicate a third party. It does not have to mean that there's anybody that's cheating or anything. This third party can be like a mother or a mother-in-law or a sister or a cousin. It can also be a friend or someone at work that just tries to get in the middle of business that they don't need to get into. So you're going to not necessarily let that person get in between you and the person that you care about. There's a lot of similar energy. Two queens, I like actually when we have two queens or kings, but one of the queens is focused more on what they're doing, and the other person's doing a lot more listening. So opening up the communication a bit more, asking for what you need, asking for that seat at the table that we saw when we were looking at the Six of Pentacles. All of that's important. All right, if you are looking for love or a key relationship, you've got a little bit of work to do, and I talked about that first. That's really just looking at the things that scare you, knowing that it's going to come out in the wash anyway when you're in a relationship. So the sooner you clear out any of those skeletons in the closet, the better. I definitely see love can be coming in. We have love that's evenly matched up here. And you actually have options here as well. So I don't feel like it's tied to any one sign. I just see a lot of opportunity here. Know who you are, know what you want, clean up what's going on. Don't be afraid. All of those things are going to be key. You have the ability this time around to bring in a really great energy because we have the Lovers. So it's just about fixing and dealing and kind of like clearing out some of this chaos, okay? If you are single, happy, and not overly focused on relationships, the good news for you is I see a lot of growth when it comes to resources and personal development. I see you kind of becoming unafraid to step into your power, maybe much to the chagrin of other people. You're stronger and more boisterous than you used to be, but good for you. So great sort of arc here when it comes to creative, I would say, yeah, it's creative passion, but also just creativity and passion on their own, ideation, this bold energy, and then also just not being afraid. Couldn't ask for a better sort of spread here when I'm looking at you, your environment, your hopes and fears, and opportunities in the long run. It's just about not succumbing to fear, because that's what this wants to do, okay? And if new love comes into your life, again, just making sure that you really get a chance to know them, because there's something that could be holding them back as well. Okay, and then finally, let's take a look at your destiny card here. And your destiny card's pretty amazing. We have the light. You are the light. You are the star. This is very much connected to what we talked about much earlier. The light card, just like the star, was reversed. So the reminder on this one as we look at it is to keep on reaching up, right? Keep on reaching towards the stars. And know that you're going to be able to solve this. You're going to be able to come out much, much better than you started the situation. And the light is the phoenix, just like what we wanted to talk about earlier. And that brings me back to our final card here. Not the final card, sorry, the big idea. The big idea is going to be your chance to sort of look at all of this. We're going to answer the question of how to be the phoenix, how to rise above, right? So let's see what this card is. So we have the Six of Pentacles yet again coming through. So with the Six of Pentacles, the big idea here is saying you don't have to be everything to everyone. You don't, and it's kind of interesting. These ropes remind me a lot of beehives, right? And we're going to kind of look at the queen bee again in a second here. But there's always going to be someone with an open hand, with a question, with a request. They don't always look like the folks on these cards, like a beggar. A lot of times this can be your boss or your partner. They can say, would you mind? It's kind of like Office Space. I'm going to need you to come in Saturday and Sunday as well. And you're like, no. I love the part in the movie where he just doesn't listen to his machine or he unplugs it or whatever. Like, there comes a point where no, that's not going to work. Not every weekend. There could be someone in your life that's constantly saying, could I borrow $5? Or can you spot me on this? Or can I borrow the car again? Can I do this? At some point, you're going to say no. So putting down the limits is going to be important because you need some of those resources to thrive and to grow as well. And that could be where the queen bee energy is coming in. Remember that people can listen to you too, and you get to say no. And you can also kind of tell them where their swim lane is, right? All of those things are really, really key. And as we look at the lovely star card that I had here, let's see if I can pick it up here. Here it is. There is this it's almost as if the star is reaching for you. It's trying to find you. And it's really just a matter of, are you willing and ready to answer the call? And I think if you're ready to answer that call, things are going to pick up much faster than you would imagine. The only thing with the star, with the light card here, is there is this sort of, and even like judgment, you're going to be seen. You're going to be under more scrutiny. So once you love, accept, and celebrate all that you are and all that you have to offer, then everything's going to be A-okay for you, okay? So there we go. We're going to look at the final card in just a few minutes here. So, before we get into that, write down the question you have for me. Don't put it in chat just yet. Hold it for a second, and we'll get to that as we close everything up. Just a quick reminder of where we're at and what we have left. We've gone through just about every single thing except meditation, sound bath, and final card. Meditation takes about 2 minutes. Stick around if you can, because that final card is going to be worth it. And then at the very end, I'll say thank you to everyone, and I'll bring up my sleeping beauty here in the background, Apollo, who's just chilling out and vibing. All right, so a quick reminder here before we get into that. If it's the first time that you're here, I'd love for you to subscribe and put the bell icon. I need to add this to the visual here as well. That way you'll know when I do new readings and impromptus. I do offer impromptus. Also, if you want some more information, you can go to my website. I'm going to pull a link up here just in a second here so you have it as well. And if you want any more information, you can find it there. And also, if you like to follow me on social media, feel free to do that. Here's a link to my website and also all the social media stuff so you can follow me. And I'm going to pin that. I meant to do it earlier, but now you have it. And let's get into your meditation. All right, so as I'm getting set up for the meditation, which again will only last a couple of minutes, we'll focus on helping you rise above. I kind of like the energy of the bees, so we're going to use the bees today, and then we'll get into your final card. So while I'm getting everything set up, here's a chance for you to vote on if I use a singing bowl or a crystal pyramid for the sound bath. Okay. All right, there you go. Take your time on that. And let's get set up for the meditation. Close your eyes. Tune into your body in this moment in time. I just want you to pay attention to anything that you might be holding on to. Sitting up tall for a second, really stretching if you feel the need to. Relaxing your shoulders, your neck, and your back. You can go side to side a little bit if you need to. Open up or get rid of any sort of kinks that you might be holding on to in your muscle or even in your bones. And now close your eyes if you haven't already done so. I'd like you to see yourself in a beautiful garden. Imagine that it's like an English-style garden where everything isn't perfectly manicured. Some of the stuff is actually kind of like overflowing and overgrown, but it looks beautiful. Around you, you see all the different types of pollinators possible, from hummingbirds to small birds themselves, finches and things, to the bees as well. So imagine that you are seated on this beautiful kind of like cot. So between two of the trees, there's this lovely cloth cot that you can lay down on, and you can just gently watch from a distance the bees doing their sort of busy work. You see them going from flower to flower. You can see even just the little specks of pollen as it kind of flies in the air. And I want you to close your eyes and listen to the humming or the buzzing of the bees. Imagine that you could connect with one of those bees in spirit, and through the sort of frequency that it's bringing forth for you, you get this sense, it's almost like an energetic shakedown or massage, that anything that was stuck to you, any sort of imagery, thoughts, even if there was some sort of a other person's energy, that almost as if you were getting a massage, the humming and the buzzing and the frequency of that sound is actually going to shake it free from your body. And because I associate bees with that beautiful kind of golden color of honey, we're going to see the solar plexus, the stomach, light up like a beautiful, brilliant, bright sun, like our own star above us. So feel that warmth in your belly, smell the nectar of the flowers around you. Imagine now that you have the wings of a bee, and you could basically take yourself from wherever you're at and be free. You're liberating yourself. So like the Eight of Swords, you're going to get out of that cage, out of that moment in your life where you feel stuck, and allow the wind, allow your dreams, allow your thoughts to carry you wherever they may. As you do that, I'm going to play the singing bowl. So just sit back, relax for about a minute or so, and receive a healing, and then we're going to look at your final card. Take a nice deep breath. Allow your energy to find its way back to your body. You can keep that sort of bee spirit with you, remembering that you have the power to pollinate, to create abundance around you. That just like the bee, there can be a little bit of sting sometimes, so you want to decide when and if you're going to use that energy, focusing on keeping things in the highest light and the highest possibility. Seeing your beautiful auric field right now, you would notice that there is nothing but brilliant gold and white light coming from your stomach, coming from your solar plexus. So also reclaiming your power, that is going to be a key takeaway from today as well. All right, finally, let's take a look at the last card that I'm going to pull today. It's going to be the final card. So I just want you to meditate on a question that you have for me. Don't type it in chat just yet. Focus instead on what it is, and then I will pull a card and tell you what I see. Okay, we have a card of completion here for the final card. So it is the World Tree, aka the World. We see a sort of labyrinth in front of that, or a maze in front of that. And there is a reminder here that sometimes when you're in the middle of something like a labyrinth, you may feel like you're lost. You have to keep moving, and you have to keep finding your way. It's going to be a little different for everyone, but what I like here is that there is a door at the end of that path, and it is worth it. I also love how we see the 4 seasons represented on this world tree, starting with spring, summer, autumn, and winter here. So as I've been saying, we have to have the faith that there is going to be a season and a reason for everything. If this is an answer that you're looking like a yes/no answer, this is saying that something's done. So if you're asking me, am I done with this? The answer would be yes. If you're looking at the sort of a question like, can I get something? Yes, but there's going to be some big changes. There's a big breakthrough or breakout that's coming through with this breakout success or a breakthrough opportunity. Oftentimes you have to move or you have to step into something that is out of your comfort zone. And it may leave you kind of feeling like, where am I? This is sort of like the unknown. You're going to be okay if that's the case here. Ultimately, this also encourages you to move up, to keep focusing on brighter and higher energy. There's no way to go but through with this one, okay? So it's all really, really positive. There are 4 seasons on this, so for some of you, there is a little bit of waiting. It could take up to 1 year for some of this to manifest. It could take a change of season. It could take a change of address. Nothing negative with the world. It's one of the best cards, especially when it's upright. So it looks very positive, very auspicious. Change is necessary. Can you rise above the ashes? Absolutely with this card. One of the best possible ones that I could have pulled. Okay? So really, really cool. All right, that, my friends, is everything in a nutshell. I'm going to take my little busy bee here in the background and put him on my lap in a second, but I want to work through a couple of things first. So stick around if you want a cameo with Apollo at the end. A couple of notes before I grab my busy bee. Again, feel free to follow me on social media. I try to give reminders of all upcoming readings. So if you missed anything this time, that's a way to keep in touch. Of course, you can always do that by making sure that you subscribe and opt into notifications. And I actually pinned a link to my website, so you can use that in just a moment if you'd like it. And I want to say thanks to everybody here in just a second who gave back with super stickers, etc. But let's just kind of navigate straight to the thanks. If it was your first time that you found me, I'm so glad you did. I never understand completely how the algorithm works, even after 7 years. They change it all the time. So if this is your first time here, thank you. One way that you can help me is by leaving a comment when this is on replay. It does help other people discover it, and it's nice to read what you think. Also, if you want to share stuff on your mind, I put a special question up on the community tab asking for some new decks that you'd like me to purchase. I've already selected a couple. I'll keep reading through the suggestions. I'm not looking for old suggestions, so you can look at my list of decks. I'm looking for new ones. For some reason, that didn't come across the first time I posted it. So anyway, take a look. Let me know if there's anything that you think is missing from my sort of general cards that I have listed there, and I'd love to add them in. Now let's say thank you to everybody that's brand new or that gave back today. Of course, thank you to everyone that's been with me all the way through the journey and regular contributions. I appreciate it. I'm just going to welcome the new folks here today. All right, let's start with memberships. Anyone that's brand new or within the past 12 to 24 hours, I'm going to say thank you to them first. So we're going to begin here with Rhiannon Spaziano, I think it is. Thank you so much. Looks like you're a brand new member. Good to have you here. Anne Frood, I think it is. Welcome back, rejoining after 13 months. Ashen Moon, brand new member, welcome. Terry G, a member rejoining after 3 months. Let's see here, we have Sylvia Correa. Thank you very much for rejoining after a month. And that is everybody that's done it in the past day or today. So good to have all of you, whether you're brand new or returning. Now, I'd just like to say thanks to anybody that gave a super sticker or super chat. And then as soon as I get through this, I'll bring up my little fluffy assistant. All right, so for the super chats and super stickers, looks like we have quite a few today, so I want to say thanks to everybody in advance. The first person that gave a super sticker today was Cindy Toshik. Thank you for kicking things off today. Then we have Cut and Paste Life, Leah. We also have Aaron Dumovitz, I think it is, Michelle Buckoff, Adele Brisky, Wendy Wright. Thank you for all those lucky consecutive numbers on that one, Wendy. I like it. Mary Van Buren. Ingrid Bergman, Rita Zavala, Aquarius 3003, Charlene Fox, thank you so much for the 50, I appreciate it. Farin Aziz, Lucy Rodriguez, Kathleen L, Misha Crane, Peyton Kramer, Misha again, thank you so much. Linda P, Meryl, I'm just gonna say, is it Baramash? I think it is. Thank you. Amber. Misha again, appreciate the multiples there. ML Champion, Kathleen L, thank you again. Gina Gonzalez, Brynhilder Thorsdottir, thank you very much. Angela Kirk, Isha Marie, thank you. And thanks again the other day for upgrading the membership. I remember that. Let's see, this one's a little hard to pronounce. It looks like, I can't say it, Totepiu. Thank you very much. Ali Stewart, Cheryl Beam, Isabella, Crystal McKnight, Jeannie Davis, AB, Ella Rose, Julissa Garaby, I think, KLR, Super Intelligent Astrology, Angela Jetstream Stover, Jordan Gloss, Marusia Arujo, I think it is, or Arujo, Misha Crane again, thank you. Yvette Sanchez, thanks. Alina Stoya, Kathleen L again, I appreciate the multiples. I see you did it twice here as well. You're Following D, Jeannie Hart, Diane Swappy, sorry. Misha Crane again, Michelle Depoy, thanks Michelle for that extra amount there, I appreciate it. Mystic Whimsy, Wild Foxes, Rhiannon Spaziano again, and Christy Rudolph. Thank you so much for everybody, especially the ones that gave a few times, and it doesn't matter how much or how little, it makes a big impact. I am looking now at getting some new tarot decks, so I'm going to use the Super Chats to shake things up a little bit, and you guys have already sent me some great advice, so I appreciate that. All right, let me pull up my furry assistant. We're going to end with Apollo. He's ready for his walk, but here we go, buddy. You want to say hi to everyone? Thank you so much, everybody, for a really magical time today. I'm sorry we went a couple minutes over. Special thanks to Maria Margarita, who was here the whole time helping out, and thanks to everybody for sharing some of your time and energy. This little guy is going to get a nice long walk and some hugs after us. So I'm going to put him down and get ready to take care of Apollo. Lots of love and light, everyone. Just a reminder, I'm going to be live tomorrow. Let's see, I think we're doing Gemini next, so that'll be 9 a.m. on Monday. And then also I'll be doing Cancer and Leo. So you can check out the schedule on my website. In the meantime, have a great day. Thanks again. Lots of love and light. Bye-bye.